All right, this is coding session 3, part 2, or B, whichever you want to refer to it. It is the second part of the third night we are together, for those of you who are watching this on video. We are on page 28 of the Faye Brown book, and we've just gotten through talking about significant procedures and what a significant procedure is. And what we've got to talk about now, just for a minute or two, is the UHDDS relationship to outpatient reporting. And we know that outpatient reporting and inpatient reporting are two entirely different animals and always will be. It's important for you to notice that first sentence. The UHDDS definition of principal diagnosis does not apply to the coding of outpatient encounters. You will not use that after study in an outpatient encounter. In contrast to inpatient coding, no after-study element is involved because ambulatory care visits do not permit the continued evaluation ordinarily needed to meet criteria. All that's saying is when you go to the doctor's office, your throat is sore. He does a strep test. Is he necessarily going to even have the results of that strep test unless he did a rapid strep during that same time you're there, or are you going to have to call back the next day to find out? Yeah, so at that point in time, he can't technically say you've got strep unless the rapid strep were to show it, can he? So they've got to code for what they know at that moment. Maybe you go in and you've had bleeding in your urine, and they do the lab test, but at that particular moment you're being seen, can they necessarily tell you what is wrong? No. They may find out through the course of multiple visits and other things that you've got cancer of the bladder, but right then you can only code what you know. So the best rule I can give you in a doctor's office setting, in an outpatient setting, code only what you can substantiate. Now let me give you a scenario that I hope will stick with you. And this is true. There was a case of a lady who had double vision or some other problems that were indicative of the need for a CAT scan of her head. She was ordered, the doctor provided the order to get the CAT scan, sent it to the radiology office. He sent it as a rule-out brain tumor. Now, do you understand what it means when you've got a diagnosis of rule-out brain tumor? She's got double vision. We want to rule out and make sure she doesn't have a brain tumor, or if she does, we want to find it out. We're trying to, say that's not what it is so we can move on to some other things. When the radiologist staff got ready to record it and to bill it, they applied the inpatient rule, which is when you've got a rule-out diagnosis, you code it as if it were actual, so they coded her as having a brain tumor. She did not have a brain tumor. The doctor had already told her, you don't have a brain tumor, everything is fine. Unfortunately, the radiology office coded it wrong on her insurance claim form. Not only was that a problem, but they didn't have the correct address for her insurance company. So they sent her the claim form to send it on to her insurance company. So she opens it up, and if you're not familiar with those claim forms, they're very official looking. There's a doctor's signature there. There's all kinds of stuff that makes it look very official. Because they had incorrectly coded it as a brain tumor, that's what she read. And so now she's thinking, oh my gosh, I have a brain tumor. She killed herself. So she killed herself because a coder in a radiology office didn't know what they were doing and miscoded it. Now, can you see yourself in a similar situation when maybe you've gone? It's happened to my husband time and time again. The doctor's office he goes to, if his sugar is ever high, and he's the worst in the world for getting a snack on the way to the doctor's office, if his sugar is high, they'll automatically code him as diabetic because they don't know what they're doing. Don't have a clue. So you really have to be careful about how you code things, particularly in an outpatient office. Make sure you're coding what you absolutely can substantiate. Then we get into ethical coding and reporting. Yes, there is a high degree of ethics that you should have as a coder. And you will actually have standards of ethical coding that are available for download. Look in the third paragraph at www.ahima.org. These are your ethical coding standards that you as a coder agree to abide by when you enter this profession. you want to make sure that you are never coding and billing for anything that is inappropriate. Let me give you an example. Earlier tonight I said if you've got two diagnoses that are exactly, one is as equal as the other as to what's the reason the patient is there, then that's the only time that you can ever code for the highest reimbursement. All right, but what if we've got two diagnoses and one pays us $10,000 and one pays us $5,000? Can I just automatically put that $10,000 one down? No. That would be an unethical coding decision. So you don't ever want to do that. It is absolutely grounds for dismissal. It's grounds for getting your hospital into a lot of hot water. All right, Chapter 4, the medical record as a source document. The medical record is the source of everything that you're going to code, whether it's inpatient, outpatient hospital, outpatient physician's office, whatever. If it is not in the medical record, it didn't happen. If it didn't happen, can you code it? No. I mean, that is just the bottom line. And as an insurance auditor, that's exactly the approach they're going to take. They're going to come in with the claim form in one hand, ask for the medical record, and they sit down. And if they cannot substantiate everything on that claim form in the medical record, they're going to start marking out things that you can't charge for. I think that most of this is pretty self-explanatory and talks about how important that the documentation is. And you'll have to overlook me because I revert back to calling the claim forms by their own numbers, and it's no longer, it's now a UB04, meaning that it was changed in 04 instead of the UB92, and it's just my elderliness makes me revert back to that. All right, we're now in Chapter 5, basic coding steps, things you've been doing all along, but we're going to handhold our way through these. If you'll look at the top of page 35, there's a 1, there's a 2, there's a 3. Those are the steps that you will take every time you're trying to code something. First of all, locate the main term. We know that's that bold-faced term that's printed in the alphabetic. Secondly, we're going to look at all the subterms, those things that are listed alphabetically. We're going to look at all the non-essential modifiers, those things that are in parentheses. We're going to follow any cross-references. We're going to refer to the notes. And from there, we're going to pick a tentative code. Then number 2, we're going to take that tentative code and verify it in the tabular list. We're going to read the code title. We're going to read all the instructional notes. We're going to determine whether a 5th digit must be added. And then only after we've done all that can we actually assign the code. Now, we've gone through what's on the bottom of page 35 before, so I'm not going to take the time now. And that brings you to exercise 5.1. Now, this is an unfortunate one that you already have the answers because you can't cover this up. But I want to make sure that you understand that you're looking up the name of the condition or the name of the procedure. For instance, number 1, if I looked up myocardial, is that the condition or is that the location, the anatomical location? Location, so that won't work. Under number 2, same thing. If I had looked up tonsils and adenoids, that's anatomical location. You want to look up the condition itself.